Welcome to another VeVe Digital Collectibles comic breakdown video. I'm Corey with VeVe, and today we get to talk about another key comic that ties heavily into the Guardians of the Galaxy comic universe. That's right, the next comic coming to us from Marvel gives us the first appearance and origin story of Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord. Marvel Preview number 4 with its beautiful art and story would set the stage for a hero that has thrived since his conception here in 1976. Before we whiz across the cosmos with Star-Lord, let's go over the drop details. Marvel Preview number 4 is scheduled to release on Wednesday, May 3rd at 8 a.m. Pacific Time. Minting 10,000 editions across the 5 rarities, this comic will have a retail price of 10 gems. Published on January 10th of 1976 with art by Steve Gann and Bob McLeod and writing by Steve Englehart, this comic not only gives us the first appearance, birth, and origins of Peter Quill becoming Star-Lord, we see the first appearance of his mother as well, Meredith Quill. Given the era this story was published, there are some heavier and more adult themes throughout, but the basis of the story is this. Peter Quill was born and immediately his parenthood was called into question by his own father. Peter would fall in love with the stars and all things science fiction, and this growing interest became an obsession when his mother was taken from him by beings from outer space. And so Peter did what any good son would do when his mother is taken from him by beings from outer space. He set his sights on the stars, and he became cold and driven. This drive served him well professionally, but alienated him from making friends or connections with other people. He would find himself training at NASA to become an astronaut, while categorically better than all the other candidates. His loner attitude made him incompatible to be a member of a team, and he'd be rejected from his potential first mission to space. And this rejection forced Peter to reform his attitude, or at the very least, pretend to reform his attitude. He couldn't let his personality get in the way of his goals of going to space. And that's just what he did. His model attitude paired with his top-tier abilities landed him aboard Earth Station Eve, orbiting some 204 miles above Earth. Peter would find solace in the stars. And in those stars, he'd be given an opportunity of a lifetime, the chance to don the mantle of the Star-Lord. And with that offer, he would have the ability to finally find justice for his mother. And all of that is just a snippet of what this 30-plus page story is offering. Beyond the writing, Steve Gann and Bob McLeod put on a masterclass in what can be accomplished with purely black and white artwork. The book is just packed with beautiful panels. And this original iteration of Star-Lord, including the comics that followed during this era, were a very different depiction of Peter Quill than what we see in current comics. But this comic and the following comics really set the stage for what this character was going to be all about. In my opinion, Marvel Preview number 11, which was the second appearance of the character in a comic, perhaps best encapsulated in a single panel the drive and motivation of Star-Lord. And this feeling you see related here in this panel remained a consistent theme for the character of Star-Lord for almost half a century of comics and film. And that's what makes today's comic, Marvel Preview number 4, an essential piece of comic history. It's the comic that started it all for Star-Lord, and a vital part of any collection that's centered around Guardians of the Galaxy. And adding layers of history on top of all of that are VeVe exclusive rare and ultra rare covers. These are coming from David Yarden. David has more than 20 years of experience illustrating comic books with notable works from Marvel to include District X, Storm, X-Men Origins, Gambit, and was a regular cover artist on X Factor. This will be his first VeVe exclusive variant on the platform, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of his work in the future. Let's take a closer look at all the covers releasing and those mint numbers. First, the Common Classic cover is minting 6,000 editions. Savvy collectors and comic historians will note the Curtis Magazine's logo on the placard in the top left corner. This was an imprint utilized by Marvel Comics back in the early 1970s. I mentioned earlier that some of the themes and dialogue in this comic are more adult, and that's because the magazine format wasn't covered by the Comics Code Authority. Thus, the rules for violence and profanity were different. Next, the Uncommon Vintage variant is minting 2,250 editions. The color selection on Star-Lord, both on the primary character and the placard, makes this a striking cover. Star-Lord's costuming has gone through many iterations throughout his tenure in comics, but this original styling for me highlights the pulpy science fiction goodness that these early Star-Lord comics achieved. The original cover was created by Gray Morrow, who is well known for his work in comics, magazine covers, and paperback books. Our first VeVe exclusive is the Rare Hero variant, and its many 1,000 editions. David Yardin pays tribute to the original rendering and art with this homage cover. The original title logo and edition placard remains, but everything else gets a modern facelift. This focus on the art and increasing the size of both the moon and the character shifts this from a feeling like a magazine cover and firmly establishes it as a comic. Next, the ultra rare vibranium variant is minting 500 editions. Full color saturation across this cover gives a sense of fullness and completion. The planet and sky backdrop behind Star-Lord looks to be closely color sampled from the original work, which really adds to this homage. For fans of this character, his origin, and the original comic, this variant will be an essential piece of their collection. Finally, the secret rare True Believer variant is minting 250 editions, and it was really exciting to see this image being used as the secret rare. The first 2 pages of this comic created a 2-page spread. On the left, a message to readers from writer Steve Englehart teasing the story that awaited. And on the right, there was this beautiful full-page depiction of Star-Lord. Here's those pages for reference. Rarely does an interior page or panel selection so perfectly make a cover. The edition placard from the original comic has shifted to the lower left, and Marvel Preview Presents has been shifted to center on the title. I'm in love with this cover, and again, just another example of what these artists could achieve with only black and white. And that's a wrap for this breakdown video. With Marvel Studios' Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 set to release theatrically, there's never been a better time to really dig into the comic histories of some of these characters. With all that being said, best of luck if you decide to go for this one. Until the next breakdown video, keep learning, sharing, and collecting what you love. This is Corey with VeVe, signing off.